perpendicular lines are lines that intersect or cross each other at a 90-degree angle. So if you look at there, it's 90 degrees, right? We have two lines. We have AB and XY, and they cross each other at a 90-degree angle. Such lines, we say they are perpendicular. Okay. Never assume that two lines are perpendicular. There are some properties that you can check to see if lines are perpendicular, okay? But you can't just assume they are. Either they must give you the angle, or I'm going to show you another method now that you can use to determine if lines are perpendicular. So the symbol over here at the bottom, check here at the bottom. This is a symbol we use to show that lines are perpendicular. So in our case over here with the lines we have on screen, I will say AB is perpendicular. It's like an upside down T. Do you see it? So it's perpendicular to XY. So you need to learn this notation, guys, because in a test, if they say to you, these lines are perpendicular, you need to know what that means. Otherwise, it will seem like you don't have enough information, right? It'll seem like they've given you too few angles or something like that. So you need to learn what the symbol for perpendicular is, okay? So that you know that that means there's a 90-degree angle between them. Okay, let's see. There we go. For example, if line AB and line CD intersect each other at an angle of 90, we express it as AB is perpendicular to CD. Okay. Now let's talk about the gradients of perpendicular lines. First, I'm going to ask you guys, how do you work out gradients again? Please remind me of our little formula for gradients. I'll go to the side here, and I want you guys to remind me my formula for gradient. That is a formula for general linear graph. Change in y divided by change in x. Oh, Kwezi, I'll repeat it at the end. Please remind us. There we go, Abu Khan. There we go, Abu. Okay, so M is worked out by change in y, which is y2 minus y1, divided by x2 minus x1. I hope we have this notes somewhere in our books. Don't be sorry, my dear. I like it when you guys answer. So that's how we find out the gradient. Now with perpendicular lines, their gradient, if you multiply them, so the product of the gradient, product means multiplication. Okay, the product, there we go, multiplication of the gradients will give you an answer of -1. Okay, so remember I said there are two ways to determine if lines are perpendicular. First one is you look for the 90-degree angle. If you can't find one, you will multiply their gradients, and if it gives you -1, then you know these two lines are perpendicular. Okay, now, which of the following are perpendicular? There is more than one pair that is perpendicular. So 4 of these, 2 and 2, are perpendicular to one another. Now, the only way we're going to know is by multiplying their gradients and seeing if they give us -1. Okay, there we go, Kwezi. I'm giving you a few seconds, screenshot. Maybe I should drink some water because I've been teaching and my mouth is dry. Okay. We should be done. Back how far, Fatima? That's where we started. This is the first thing we started with. Okay, screenshots, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay. There we go. So which of these following lines do you guys think are perpendicular? Let's see. We have to do trial and error and see, this is where your calculator is going to come in handy, and see which ones are going to give you an answer of -1. So we're going to be multiplying them. Okay, Anyone who has figured out any pair yet? Anyone who has a suggestion, just suggest any two, and we will check and see if they are perpendicular. I have lost my pen, so I'm not sure. There we go. Found it. Sapang, where did I lose you, darling? Please raise your hand. Lerato says 3 and 5. Okay, I'll be there just now, Lerato. Boyani says 1 and 6. Boyani is almost onto something there. Yes, Sapang. Sapang, you may unmute.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Sapang.
Ma'am.
Yes. Okay, Sapang, I don't know if it's my connection, but you are lagging very badly.
Can you please explain? I was disconnected for a moment.
Okay, so Sapang was disconnected. We're going to listen carefully, guys. I'm explaining it once again.
Disconnected for a moment.
All right, Sapang. There we go.
Please explain?
There we go. Okay, I think Sapang's finished. There we go. Okay, guys, we're talking about perpendicular lines, okay? That means lines that cross at 90 degrees. Now, if we multiply their gradients, they're going to give us an answer of -1. That's all I said. Okay, guys, let's stop in the chat and listen. All I said was, if you take gradient 1, that's what M1 means, okay? Gradient 1, which is M1, and you multiply it by gradient 2, which is M2, your answer will be -1. That's all I said. Okay, we did gradient a few lessons ago. So if what's confusing you is the formula for gradient, then we need to go and catch up on those lessons. Okay, guys, we need to brush up on our working up of gradients. So now I am here. And I'm asking you, which of the following are perpendicular? So now remember, we first need to find out which one is the gradient in a formula. You guys are getting confused because you're looking at the whole sum. Number 1 has given you the formula. It says, the gradient. It says the gradient is 1/2. So we know the gradient for number 1. Maybe I should start there. What is the gradient for number 2? What is the gradient for number 2? Before we even answer the perpendicular stuff, what is the gradient for number 2? Yes, Kwezi?
It's -1/3.
Thank you very
X.
much. No, not without the x. Okay, so it's just -1/3. There we
Yes,
go.
ma'am.
Number 3, they've told us that it's -3. What's the gradient for number 4? Anyone? The gradient for number 4, thank you, Tammy. 0.25. Okay. Let's see. I see hands going up. Ndine? Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Ndine. Do you have a question or an answer, Ndine?
I was going to answer number 4.
Okay, you can answer number 7. What's the gradient for number 7?
-2.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we've identified our gradients. Okay, for number, just realized number 5. This x shouldn't be there, so don't mind the x for number 5. How do I cross it without like being weird? Let's do this. So number 5 does not have a x. The gradient is just -4. Okay, now we've identified the gradients. So you guys, you need to check which two gradients, if I multiply them, which two will give me an answer of -1? Yes, Chief. Oh, Chief vanished. Yes, Kwezi? Yes, Kwezi. Kwezi, please unmute. Your hand is up. Oh, okay. I can't explain again, Sepang. You're gonna have to watch the video when you have better connection, okay? Kwezi number 1, not Kwezi Kazi, yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm very confused.
What's confusing you, Kwezi?
Ma'am, how do you exactly get like how do you choose between the numbers? Like when you said which of the following are perpendicular, like how do you know?
You multiply them, Kwezi. That's the only way you're gonna know. Here's the formula right above. We said when we multiply the gradients, we want an answer of what?
-1.
Exactly. So the only way you're going to know if it's going to give you -1 is to multiply it.
Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Okay, now I get it.
There we go. So you have to try a few ones. And then when you finally find an answer that gives you -1, then you'll tell me that, okay, gradient for number 1 and for number 5 are perpendicular.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay, now I'm taking a question from Kwezi Gazi. Kwezi Gazi.
Ma'am, it's number 1 and 7.
Number 1 and 7. Kwezi Gazi has found our first pair. Let's check. A half multiplied by a -2. A positive and a negative is a negative. 2 times 1 is 2/2, which is indeed -1. Thank you, Kwezi Gazi. You have found our first pair.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Kwezi has found our first pair, guys. Let's see if we can find the second pair. Oh, I see Tabang also said it. I just showed you, Natasha. We took the gradient for number 1 and 7. So that was a half for number 1 and -2 for number 7. Multiplied them and we got a -1. That means they are perpendicular. Okay, I see another suggestion in the chat. Let me take Fatima's hand. Oh, Sia's first. Sia Mtanda, do you have a question?
No, I found a gradient, ma'am. I found a perpendicular.
Let's hear.
It's ma'am?
Which
number
one?
4 and number 5.
Number 4 and 5. Okay, number 4 is 0.25 times -4. What did you get when you multiplied these together?
-1.
-1. Siam Tanda, you found our second pair. That is beautiful, Siam Tanda. Thank you. Okay, guys, those were the only 2 pairs of perpendicular lines in my list. Okay, now I want us to compare the gradients of these perpendicular lines. Hey, how about I find you guys an easier way to identify this, and other than going through everything you guys just doing through right now. So we identified number 1 and 7 and number 4 and 5. I'm going to rewrite these as fractions. So number 1 and 7 was a half and -2, which can be written as 2/1. And number 4 was 0.25. That is the same as a quarter. And -4/1. So I want you guys to look at those and tell me what you realize about them while I take questions. What do we realize about these? Oh, the hands are gone. Oh, there we go. Fatima?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
Good, and you?
I'm fine, ma'am. Ma'am, I don't understand. How, like,
Then,
I
Fatima.
understand you use the gradient method there, but how do you know which one is first and which one is, yeah.
It doesn't matter which one is first, Fatima, you're multiplying. Remember, 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2.
Mm.
Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you put first.
Oh, so we see like we're basically saying like terms that add up to -1, ma'am.
Multiply. We have to multiply them and
Multiply,
get
yes.
answer of -1. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Only problem is you won't know. I know I only wrote the correct ones, but you were supposed to try all of them. So for instance, you were supposed to try number 2 and 3. Multiply them, see if they give you -1, and if they don't, that means the lines are not perpendicular.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, I understand.
There we go. Okay, Tabang, do you have a question? Yes, Tabang.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
Well, and you?
Ma'am, I haven't like an answer of what I think is similar about the things.
Okay, let's hear.
So my first answer, they are infractions. And my second answer, I don't know if this is the correct term, but they are reciprocity, something.
You saying exactly what I want you to say, but you're saying it wrong. Come on, Tabang. You gave them such a big clue. They are reciprocals.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they are reciprocals of one another. Brilliant, Tabang. How did you notice that? That was good. That was good.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
They are reciprocals, guys. What is a reciprocal? Reciprocal means tip the fraction over. Okay, so Abu, look here. If I have 3/1, a reciprocal means my numerator becomes my denominator and my denominator becomes my numerator. So the reciprocal of 3/1 is 1/3. You're swapping them around. Do we see, guys? So look at our gradients. The first one was a 1 at the top, a 2 at the bottom, okay? The second one was a 2 at the top and a 1 at the bottom. So they are reciprocals of one another. And then the second thing that I think Tabang mentioned is one of them have to be positive and one of them have to be negative. That is the only way you are going to get a negative answer. We aren't switching them, Nosisa. Remember, those were the original gradients. But this is just a factor that we are realizing about them. Okay, we are realizing that out of the ones that we chose, they are reciprocals of one another. Okay. But I never changed the one on top to a negative in the example. Remember, the whole fraction is a negative. Okay, it's not just the denominator, the numerator. So it's a -1/2. Okay. Or do you mean in the example? But reciprocals do not mean the sign changes, Abu, just remember. So there are two conditions. Okay, let me write them down. Condition number 1 is they are opposite signs. Opposite signs. Okay, that's condition number 1. Condition number 2 is that they are also reciprocals. Okay, so there are two conditions to this, guys. That is the easiest way to find perpendicular lines without having to go through all of this that we went through. Okay, let me show you. Let me show you. Let's do some few examples so I can show you what I mean. Okay. So I am going to give you a number and I want you guys to give me the reciprocal, well, the gradient that is perpendicular using these two conditions. So I'm telling you gradient number 1 is -5. Okay, what will gradient number 2 be? What will gradient number 2 be? Yes, Narisha and Vuyani. Okay, we have to start with the signs. They are opposite signs. Okay, so if gradient number 1 is negative, then gradient number 2 has to be, let's start with signs first. Let's leave the numbers alone. So if gradient number 1 was negative, then gradient number 2 has to be, thank you, Abu, it has to be positive. We have fulfilled condition number 1. Okay, now this is 5/1. What is the reciprocal of 5/1? And we have already seen it there written by a few people, but let me see a few more people say it. Thank you very much. 1/5. So we know for a fact that these two gradients, their lines are perpendicular. Do we get it, guys? Are we feeling a bit better about this now? We are about to practice a little bit, but I want to know how everyone is feeling about it. There we go. Kwezi, you need to ask a specific question. Don't cry. We can all do it. Come on. Okay. For all of those who are still not quite sure, let's practice. Okay. Now I'm asking you, are line 1 and line 2 perpendicular? Use the coordinates below to prove your answer. Okay, so if they are perpendicular, what do we want? What are we going to check? If they are perpendicular, how will we know? We're going to check the gradients. Thank you, Emmanuel. We have step 1. So we know we're going to do something with the gradients. What do we want with their gradients? Thank you, Nosipo. What must equal -1? Their gradients. No, we must first do something with the gradients for them to equal -1. What is that thing that we're going to do with the gradients? Thank you, Abu Khan. So we want to find the gradients, we want to multiply them, and we want to check if they will be equal to -1. Or guys, we can check if they are reciprocals and if they have different signs. Those are two different ways to do this. Now let's find the gradients. Who's going to find the gradients of line 1 and line 2 for me? We have coordinates for line 1 and line 2. Let's find the gradients. Who's going to do this one with me? Oh, what did I do? Nobody knows. There we go. Oh. For a moment, I thought those disappeared. There. We need space. Please, your last sentence. No, Sisa, I said we have to find the gradients and then we have to multiply them and we have to see if the answers will be -1. Or we have to find the gradients. We have to check if the signs are opposite and then we have to check if they are reciprocals. So we can use both those methods or one of them and then we'll know whether they are perpendicular or not. So what is my formula for gradients? We have done gradients before. Yes, Tabang?
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
So, ma'am, can I find the gradient?
For line 1. You want to do
Yeah,
for
so
line 1?
the formula is gonna be m is equals to y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So now we substitute. So it's gonna be -1 times
Minus?
bracket times, oh sorry, minus bracket -4
Go. Over.
over then 0 minus bracket -1.
This one. Okay. Equals.
Should I give the whole answer?
Let's first simplify this because I know someone's going to get confused. Those two negatives are going to give you what?
A positive.
There we go. +4. And at the bottom, we have that situation, negative. That's going to give us +1.
Yes.
Equals. Okay, what's -1 plus 4?
It's 3,
3 over 0 plus 1 is?
1.
So what's 3 over 1? It's just 3,
It's 3.
right?
It's just 3. Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Do you want to do the one for B for me? Line
Sure.
2. See, there
Yes,
we go.
ma'am.
Okay, let's say line 2. Same formula. Over x1 minus x2. Okay, let's substitute.
So it's gonna be minus 3. Oh, okay. Let's say minus 2. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, minus 2.
Minus bracket minus 3
Mm,
over
mm-hmm.
0 minus 3.
There we go. We have the situation again with the two minuses. They make
A positive
positive plus 3 over 0 minus 3. What's 0? What's negative 2 plus 3?
1.
1 over what's negative 3? Ugh, I just told you the answer.
Yes. indeed.
Negative 3. Thank you very much, Tarak, for doing this with me. Do you want to find, do you want to multiply them? And let's see what we get.
Yes, let me multiply them. We're gonna get
Positive and a negative.
minus 1.
There we go. So are these perpendicular?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Beautiful, Tabang. Thank you so much for helping me. That was brilliant, guys. These are indeed perpendicular because they give you -1. Even if you didn't go through all of this, but I actually just suggest that you go through all of it. Okay. This is a way to check if these are perpendicular. Yes, you may. Should I move up a bit? There we go. You may take screenshots. I'm taking questions. Okay, there's no hands. Never mind. There we go, guys. It's confusing when there's a lot of them, né? But when there's only 2 lines, then it's easier. You just multiply the gradient for 1 with the gradient for 2. If it's -1, they are perpendicular. If it's not -1, they are not perpendicular. Okay. I'm glad we're getting it now. It is, Lerato, and you should take advantage of that, okay? Yes, we are. We are doing more open clear. Okay, you know I wasn't gonna let you guys get away with being with the easy one. In the meantime, I'm taking Quizzy's question. Oh, never mind. Let's get started. Let's find the gradient for line 1, gradient for line 2. Then we're going to check if these two are perpendicular. Palisa's hand just went up. Yes, Palisa.
Hi, ma'am. I would like to find line 1 with you.
Okay, let's do line 1. Okay.
We're gonna say m equals
Mhm.
y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. So, ma'am, then we're gonna say 6.2 minus
That's X. Look carefully.
oh, sorry, ma'am.
There we go.
0.8
There we go. Minus.
brackets negative 0.7 divided by 6.2 minus negative open bracket negative 5.5.
There we
So,
go.
ma'am, 0.8 minus open bracket negative 0.7 gives us 1.5.
Okay, I'm first just going to change these two classes. Otherwise, some people will be confused.
Oh,
Class
yes, ma'am.
5, 5. Okay, so it's 1,5 over.
Over no, ma'am. It's gonna be over 11.7. Because
11.
ma'am, negative and a negative gives us a positive.
Exactly. Now divide those and tell us what the answer is, please.
So 1,5 divided by 100,5 gives us
Isn't it
0.
11?
Oh yes, yes. Gives us 0.12.
What's the decimal after that?
8, ma'am. So ma'am,
8.
the 2 is gonna change and become a 3.
Okay, let's do 1 to 8 just to be safe. Okay,
Okay,
now let's do the one for line 2.
line 2.
Hmm?
So ma'am, we're gonna say the formula, we're gonna write the formula down.
Okay, let me do that quickly. Over x1 minus x2 equals, okay, go for it.
So ma'am, we're gonna say 11 over 2
11 over 2
minus
minus,
open brackets negative negative 13 over 5
over,
which gives us 81 over 10.
okay.
And oh no, oh
Yeah.
yes ma'am, and then ma'am, we're gonna say negative 2
Mhm.
over 5 minus 3 over 5,
And that's gonna give us
and that's gonna give us negative 1.
negative 1, just negative 1. Yes, it is negative 1. There we go. Okay, and let's simplify.
And then ma'am, we're gonna say our answer. Oh, to simplify the top one into a decimal, ma'am.
Yes, and divided by 1. You can just say 81
Ma'am,
over
it's gonna
10
be
negative
8,1.
negative 8,1, right?
Oh yes, negative 8,1.
Now we want to know if these are perpendiculars. Multiply them and tell us what you get.
So ma'am, multiplied by ma'am, they are ma'am.
What's the answer when you multiply?
Ma'am, I got negative 1,0368.
0,
No, ma'am, they not 368.
3, 6, 8. So they are not perpendicular. They're very
Perpendicular.
close. They're very close, but very close does not mean exact. Do you see?
Exactly. Oh yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys. So we have 2 lines here that are indeed not perpendicular. Oh, it's 03868. Sorry, I'm sorry. So it's negative was 0,368. I know, Abu, I knew they weren't perpendicular because I made these graphs, okay? So these are not perpendicular, okay? Close doesn't mean, yes, they are perpendicular. So now that we've done another example, let me check in again. How do we feel about this? How do we feel about checking perpendicular lines using the gradient? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Alex says good. Why is Fatima laughing? Nosisa seems to be. Hi, Bo, why are we laughing? Hello, and Palisa. I want to know why we're laughing before I move on to our brain break. Tandole, where did I lose you, dear? Tando, please raise your hand so we can help you. There we go. Hi, Tandole.
Amen.
Where did I lose you?
And to be honest, in line 2, it was like kind of confusing.
The what? The M2.
Line, yes, ma'am.
Oh. Okay. Do you understand? Okay, you understand the formula, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we substituted. You understand that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me do this. Maybe this is what's confusing you. And then these two negatives are going to make what? A negative and a negative gives you what?
Positive.
A positive. So we're going to have 11 over 2 plus 13 over 5 divided by negative 2 over 5 minus 3 over 5. So here we're going to first have to find LCD and do all of that and do all of that. But if you use your calculator, what do you get when you say 11 over 2 plus 13 over 5? What's the answer?
11 over 2 plus 13 over 5. It's 88.1.
8.1. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have 8.1 at the top. Here you have negative 2 over 5 minus 3 over 5. What do you get when you do that?
Negative 2 over 5 minus 3 over. Is it 0.2?
Remember, they're both negative. So did you say negative 2 over 5 and also a minus 3 over 5?
Also, I was like, for all the numbers, they need to be negative.
Yes.
Okay, let me try again.
Answer
1.
negative 1,
Negative 1.
right? And then you're going to have 8.1 divided by negative 1. A positive and a negative. When you divide a positive and a negative, what's your answer going to be?
A negative.
A negative. And then anything divided by 1 is what?
It's anything divided by 1.
Like if I say
So
2 divided by 1, it's just the number itself. Do you agree? 2 divided by 1 is 2. So then 8.1 divided by 1 is?
8.1.
There we go. Do you see how we did it?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And then from there, we multiplied these two answers. And we saw that we didn't get exactly -1. So therefore, they are not perpendicular.
Oh, okay, ma'am. I understand now.
There we go. I'm glad.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.